All right, welcome back. As you could tell from the smile on my face, I've got a much more positive and upbeat discussion for you today. We'll do a stream of consciousness offering for you. I think you'll enjoy. But before we get started, pseudo spring is still in the air here in southern Manitoba. The water is flowing, the ducks are ducking, and love is in the air. I just reintroduced my boar to the sows this afternoon, and so if you hear any screaming and yelling and commotion off camera, it's just my pigs getting it on. So if the boar needs to escape and run away and breaks out of his pen, I'll have to cut this short. So in any case, the last couple of videos or so have been focused on a little more serious topics, and this is a whole different tone to this video. But I just wanted to mention, like, I do encourage you, if you're not familiar with the Elaine Myers story, look into it. It's a very important case, or set of cases, set of charges that he's facing, that really being railroaded. It's an erosion of all our basic human freedoms, especially the right to free speech and that kind of thing. So I think I'll be doing a live stream on Friday, this coming Friday, March, today's the 26th, so that'll be the 28th. It'll be 8 p.m. my time, Central, so somewhere around 6 o'clock start time on the West Coast, and then you can adjust your schedules accordingly to tune in at the right time. But in any case, let's get on to the topic at hand. This one, I gotta give the nod and credit to the YouTube algorithm. I woke up this morning and got into my routine, just started my day checking out, answering comments to people that have commented on my videos, and just seeing what my regular channels are up to as far as what they were offering, and so the YouTube algorithm had a recommended video for me that had to do with Generation Z. And on this channel, we've been talking a lot about the culture war and how music fits into that and plays a part. And music's obviously not the only thing that can shape that, but an area of study I find fascinating is these generational cohorts. And by cohorts, I mean people that just share, a group of people that share a similar trait. And so the generations, whether it's the boomers, Gen X, followed by the millennials, then Gen Z, and then Gen Alpha. Actually, did I say Gen Z a minute ago? The video was about Gen Alpha, and specifically the brain rot of Gen Alpha, and so the video was put out by Babylon Bee. I'm not subscribed to them. I'm not going to link to it because it is actually a lame video, but this is my response to it, or a reaction video. And Babylon Bee has actually been a formidable asset in the culture war, and pointing out the hypocrisy and the obvious from their particular, I guess, somewhat conservative bias or conservative perspective. I'm going to use that terminology. And so as well, I'm also expecting a phone call, so we might have to turn this into a part 1 and part 2 if the phone rings, but hopefully I can call him back after without having to stop this video. But anyways, the premise of the video was two on-air personalities, or on-camera personalities. One was a millennial, one was from Gen Z, and they were commenting on Gen Alpha and what they were describing as the brain rot that is plaguing Gen Alpha. And basically they were taking phrases and lingo that Gen Alpha has developed, you know, through text and kind of the vernacular of the day that they've created, their slang terms, and trying to make sense of it all. And it was so hilarious, but it was so encouraging and inspiring to me, because through the treatment of you know, through the videos as they unpackaged how appalled they were by Gen Z's behavior and speech, it just became more and more apparent how much I love Gen Alpha. Like they have the appearance of being the embodiment of what I'm pursuing through this channel, as far as being countercultural, striking their own path in a world that doesn't understand them, doesn't appear to care about them, has kind of they're cutting through their own disillusionment and forging their own way. But this video, yeah, I'm not going to link to it. I watched it, so you don't have to. I've given you enough information about it that you can go look it up yourself if you're so inclined. But they kind of had these cue cards, and they were reading these different phrases that Gen Z typically uses that are virtually undecipherable to even someone of my generation or the generations previous. And I just found it so funny, because like this one millennial and this Gen Z, which a friend of mine, he's Gen Z, and he affectionately refers to it as Generation Zyklon. But they were kind of given their reactions to the slang and the vernacular, and the response was kind of the same over and over. It's like, oh, this is so scary. Their memes don't make any sense. And it's like they were losing their minds because they couldn't relate to this generation, and they figured they were just completely out of their minds. And what I saw in it is, I'm speaking in generalizations here. Like no group is always this or always that, or every individual. There's people I can work with from all ages. You know, I've said this in previous videos. There's boomers that I can relate to. There's Gen Xers that I typically favor, and I mean, there's probably at least 3 or 4 millennials that I can tolerate in existence. Some Gen Zers I can really get along with, but it seems like Gen Alpha has something in common with the Gen Xers. Is like we are kind of left to rely on our own faculties and devices and develop tactics to make it in this world. And really we've really let these generations down. You know, whether it's kind of being asleep or out of tune or out of touch. And I'm not even trying to reach out to the Gen Alpha, because I mean, they hate us all, and we've earned the hate, and so they've kind of created a solidarity amongst themselves, you know, where the idea of doom scrolling is like everyone's just connected to their devices and the digital realm, and the interpersonal has really been replaced with interdigital, and that's the means of communicating. And by Gen Alpha, this is the group, I had to do a little bit of research. They were born from 2010 until the present time, 2025, and we're right on the cusp of a new generation starting this year, which is Generation Beta. Easy there, girls. Be nice to them. Just gotta keep watch on my boy there. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, Generation Alpha, you know, 2010 to 2025, a 15-year span. And this generation has never known life outside of social media. They're immersed in it, they live on it, they're dedicated to it, they're going to take it over at some point. And really, they're the next generation that's going to have a huge impact on, say, how they revolutionize employment and the job market and finances. So just because they've got that savviness as far as tech and the willingness to create a way where there is no way. And again, this video was so funny because the millennial was kind of throwing up his hands like, this makes no sense, and that and just this tone, like they were completely out of sorts. And I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, Gen Alpha, those are my people. And anyone in Gen Alpha, I don't expect them to ever find this video, but they'd look at me and say, go eat a bag of dicks, you stupid boomer. But that's the kind of attitude that I grew up in. You know, we didn't have society looking after us, our best interest. We didn't have our parents necessarily coddling us or particularly nurturing to us. And this is the similarity I see with Gen Alpha. And so it just gave me hope in the future, that even if it's not the future I would have created for them. I mean, if I had kids, they'd probably be Gen Alpha. Just the way, you know, my life circumstances went. I wasn't intending to start a family when I was younger, but you know, these would be my children if things had kind of worked out the way as planned. But I want to kind of cross over to a Gen X anthem. That's not quite an anthem, but we've discussed Alice Cooper in the last month or so, and this song keeps kind of coming back to mind. And it's off a very underrated album that he did after the original band broke up. It's called From the Inside. It's when Alice was in therapy for alcohol abuse and quite possibly a mental breakdown. So back in 1976 or whatever that period was, you know, he actually took his experiences and made content out of that to put into the album From the Inside. And it's the last song on the album, called Inmates. We're All Crazy. And both the tune, the melody, it keeps coming back to mind, but some of the phrases in there are just so captured the angst of the disenfranchised, disillusioned castaways that didn't seem to matter to society anymore. And so I just want to read a few of the lyrics. I'm not going to sing today, but if I do break into song, just be warned. You can click away at any time. With the second verse, it says, "It's not like we ain't on the ball. We just talk to our shrinks. Huh, they talk to their shrinks. No wonder we're up the wall. And we're not stupid or dumb. We're the lunatic fringe who rusted the hinge on Uncle Sam's daughters and sons." So I didn't know that Uncle Sam had daughters and sons with hinges, but it's just an interesting idea that, you know, we can dehumanize or other people and call them lunatics or crazy or worthless, or we need to treat them different. People have less rights because of some arbitrary designation or classification that a particular class of people wanted us to conform to. And I used to so relate to this song, but it's really the last half of the last chorus, not the last chorus, the last verse. Yeah, let's pull it up here. And so it says, "It's not like we don't know the score. We're the fragile elite they dragged off the street. I guess they just couldn't take us no more. And I felt that, like I so relate to that. It's like the different ones are not going to conform. In many ways, we have things to offer that make us elite in our ways. And so I'm really annoyed. This is the gentlest way I can describe my feeling of what's happened in the last 30, 40 years, where, you know, all manner of mental classifications have arisen that really hinder people from achieving their full potential, whether they're classified as on some kind of spectrum or we require treatment using antidepressants or any manner of interventions and therapies. And it's like a lot of those people, they just needed to be allowed to be themselves. And it seems like Gen Alpha is doing just that in their own way. In the generations before, is kind of driving us up the wall, because we can't relate, we can't decipher their code. They've got a way of acting and being and speaking that is going to be unique to them. Well, so you might say, well, they're just conforming to their own norms. Well, sure, but the point is to, at least in this, on this channel, has been to disrupt the status quo, because the status quo has really let us down, in my humble opinion. IMHO. See, I learned that from the millennials. And the millennials, they have contributed, you know, through meme culture, and Gen Z has picked that up and kind of weaponized the meme culture. But Gen Alpha are in a class of their own. They are an elite class. And so, you know, to those of you watching, I'm not suggesting you show this to anyone in that cohort from Generation Alpha, but if you have kids or grandkids that are Gen Alpha, go ahead and give them a hug for me and tell them we love you, we value you, we're pulling for you, and yeah, that we're cheering for you. It's an exciting time, you know, to see these kinds of developments. It's almost an answer to prayer. And so, I mean, it's just the contrast to previous generations is profound. Like, let me just give you an example. Like, my grandparents, they would have been like either the silent generation or considered the greatest generation. They were born after the Great Depression, after World War One, and so what really marks their generation was their trust and faith in authority, especially government. That because of what they went through in World War One, they felt the government was doing what it could to look after them, to preserve this peaceful world order, and that was being threatened by people that live far, far away. And so here in Canada, you know, we had the development of Social Security and those kinds of things. Likewise in the States, that, you know, you had gone through the Great Depression and the government was there to help. And so that generation, my grandparents' generation, they had a high level of trust for the people in authority, places of authority. Nobody would have dreamed of talking back to a police officer. There was actually no need to, because the police officers respected the people, and likewise, you know, this idea of the police state is really a modern development in the last 30 years or so. You know, give or take a few years, but. And so, you know, I just think of their responses to, say, a cultural iconic film like Star Wars. You know, my grandparents, I'm pretty sure they never saw the original Star Wars series, but if they had, I imagine they would have been something, you know, the reaction would be, you know, I don't see why why these people are giving that nice man in the black robe with the helmet such a hard time. He's only trying to look out for their best interests and preserve peace and order in the empire. I mean, like, why are they being such a thorn in his side? You know, they would have totally empathized with Darth Vader. And likewise, you know, my parents, the boomers, that generation, you guys remember the movie, this was, I think, early 2000s, V for Vendetta? You know, my parents would have been, I don't get why this guy in the mask is lashing out at these authorities. I mean, there's a plague. He's only trying to keep people safe. Like, why? Like, it's all because my parents were of a similar mind to their parents' generations. Like, generally, government could be trusted, or at least it was looking after their interests. Then you come to my generation and the millennials after, where, you know, we were really disenfranchised. We felt we didn't have much of a voice, and so the millennial reaction to V for Vendetta was, oh, that's a cool mask, you know. And so you saw people wearing all these V for Vendetta masks, the anonymous mask, and it became a meme in itself, but it is somewhat symbolic. Yes, we are all anonymous, but it's sort of the spirit of the gunpowder plot or the conspiracy to deal a blow to the crown of England back in the day. You know, that's the spirit of that was somewhat lost on it. It's like, we all have to stand up and be anonymous and make our voice heard. You know, the V for Vendetta movie was extremely violent. I mean, for the purposes of an exciting screenplay for the big screen, but you know, that's not what we're advocating. But the message to me was, you know, we're able together to stand against tyranny, but we all have to do it as individuals. We all have to become anonymous. We all have to become that hero. We're all Lane Myers. And so in this struggle to battle the culture and even accelerate the process through concerted effort, focused determination, cooperation in a way that is necessary at the time, it might not be a huge mass of people that end up making the difference. You know, during the American Revolution, they said it was 5% of the people in the colonies in the New World that really made the difference, that allowed the events to take place to create the new independent free nation, the Republic. So it's not a matter of winning over the masses. The culture war, that's winning over the masses. The ability of Gen Z to forge their own way, that's going to change culture over time. It might be a long time, and I might not be around to see the results of that. But that spirit that they're carrying is you know, you thought we were cast away? Well, we got news for you. Like, we're the elite. We're actually going to be calling the shots. Not too many years from now, not too many days from now. And they're not demanding respect. And I don't want to speak for them. I'm trying not to generalize, but there's going to be a day of reckoning where we have to realize the world has changed, and we get to decide how we move on, how we go forward from here. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up. Again, I'm planning a Friday night live stream this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little more upbeat. Still got some serious themes, but my delight at that presentation today, it just made my day. It made my week, because there's a lot of kind of serious things happening on the ground, you know, in the people I'm following. Like, it's not exactly do or die time, but now's as good a time as any to mobilize and start getting our shit together. So if you're resonating with this, by all means tune in on Friday evening, March 28th, 8 p.m. Central. And yeah, we'll talk about music, we'll talk about the culture war, we'll talk about Blaine Myers and the ongoing situation there. There's another bond hearing happening today, and you know, we'll have updates and discussions about that. And no matter what happens in that case, there's going to be plenty to discuss and unpackage for quite a little while. So there's going to be a number of voices, you know, providing forums for feedback and that kind of thing. And but in any case, we'll have a visit, a get together on Friday night. Hope you can come. And yeah, I think that's all for now. Pseudo Spring is about to be replaced by Old Man Winter coming in, blowing through at the end of the week. I think there's 4 inches of snow forecast before the weekend, so Friday night will be as good a time as any to hang out with a cup of coffee and chat about the affairs of the day. So with that, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.